So we got Mike's 442. This one's the tribute car.
Tribute to what?
Dave's not a big fan of the olds.
You know, the Oldsmobile 442 in period was really not one of the muscle cars that you wanted, simply because, well, Oldsmobiles were your dad's car.
Dave would say, oh, Dad's car. Yeah, well, the Oldsmobiles and the Buicks, they were a family car. But as soon as you add a W30 to it, you're not in Dad's car anymore. I mean, they've got to realize these were really good cars in the day.
I never ran one of these I didn't beat. We would drag race them, and I used to eat them. They were just fodder.
Well, you didn't run the right one.
But then I had a dad's car. I had a '69 Grand Prix, and everybody thought it was my dad's car, and it was mine, and it was done. I used the fact that everybody thought it was Dad's car. Nobody took it seriously, especially guys with Firebirds, Camaros, and Mustangs. But they'd still be coming out of their smoke while I was 3 car lengths ahead.
Because he always thinks his is faster. I just wish we could, you know, do that little bloop, 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 go back in time. If it was still here and we wanted to, you know, make a little wager, pretty sure I'd wager him with this 442.
No, the Grand Prix had an Interceptor package, and there's no way a 442 Olds could catch it. I had to kick your ass.
This is a 1974 Corvette Stingray. It's been sitting for a long time, and it's been in some kind of rear-end collision as there's no rear bumper cover on it. So we have to diagnose the engine running condition and get the back bumper fixed on it. Nice. Yeah, I got stuck in there. Door doesn't work for some reason. Well, this engine's not running very good. The lobe on the camshaft's worn off of it. You hear when I rev it up. You hear that popping? That tells me that there's maybe a couple of lobes worn out on the camshaft. And when the exhaust valve's not opening, all that exhaust gas has to go somewhere, so it gets popped back up through the carburetor when the intake valve is open. We're gonna change the camshaft and do lifters. Okay, I gotta get in. I wish this door would open. I had it open before. It's a pain. Not the easiest car to slide over. Yeah. Good thing I'm nimble.
So when did this happen?
Well, the other day we were talking and we heard a bang.
Apparently, my little Minneapolis Moline R-Cab had a bit of an issue this week. Oh, great.
This is the good side. That's the bad side.
Oh, Jesus. The sun heated up the tire, the tube swelled inside, there was a crack, and boom.
She blowed up good.
When the tire collapsed, it cracked the whole bottom of the tire, so I guess the rubber's a bit tired. And that's too bad, because these are original.
Oh, no, really? Well, one's down, one to go. I mean, neither one of them are in good shape.
So how much are they?
They're not that bad.
Okay, well, how much not bad is not that bad?
Less than a Rolex.
It took a little bit to get out of Greg how much these tractor tires are, because, you know, sometimes I've been quoted $2,000 for a bloody tire.
I mean, they're $500-600 a piece.
Oh, so that's not so bad. And you know what? I mean, it deserves it. This is not a cheap tractor.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
It's extraordinarily rare. In the 1930s, Minneapolis Moline was a very popular tractor. They decided to be a little bit innovative and put a cab on a tractor to keep people dry and warmer. Farmers looked at that and went, I'm not driving that around. That's a sissy cab. It became known as the sissy cab. So in order to sell the damn things, the dealers had to take the cabs off them. But in 1940, the Americans were tooling up to start the war effort. Tractors became in short supply. So the dealers went, here's an opportunity. Said, well, you want one of these, you can't buy it without a cab. So they put the cabs back on in the 1940s. But this is one of the very, very rare 39s that actually survived with its cab on the tractor. So
wow.
They actually designed, too. The UDLX was a bigger tractor and had enough room to put your family inside. Meant to not just use as a tractor, but use as a car. So you could take the family to church on Sunday mornings, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll get tires on it then.
Yeah, get some tires on, nice new ones, and I get chrome rims for it.
Oh, yeah. Put it on bags, drop it.
Yeah.
So the owner, Kim, called me about the Stingray. It belonged to her husband who had passed. And he was working on it in his garage slowly over years. And they always wanted to give it to their granddaughter. That was their plan all along. He had got to a certain point with it and then unfortunately didn't get to finish his own restoration on it. So that's what we're doing. We're stepping in, getting it finished.
Okay, got it.
It's a great story. I love when people pass down their vehicles. When you have somebody that appreciates a car and you can pass it on to them, it keeps that collectability, it keeps the community going, and it's what it's all about, really. So we're getting it ready for her, so it's going to be something reliable and something that she'll remember her grandfather for.
Well, there's two major issues with the car we found. One being that the camshaft is worn right out of it. And the other issue is the front suspension's worn out. So everything's clunking and banging, and it just doesn't handle like it should. So the camshaft is the length of the engine. For it to clear to come out, I got to get everything off the engine. Come on, fight with me. But I got to get the rad out of the way. There we go. And the intake manifold's got to come off. I'm loosening off the rockers here so I can get the push rods out. And then the lifters. So all it's got to come off and out so I can get the camshaft out. And that's why I had to take everything out. See how big it is? Oh, that's it. So let's have a look at it. Oh, yeah, look at, see, there's a good one. There's a bad one. See where the lifter comes up on the peak of the lobe? And there's another worn one right here. Camshaft had about 6 wiped out lobes. And the reason they wear out like they do, motor oil used to always have lots of zinc for lubrication, and it actually makes like a cushion. All these older engines of camshafts were pretty well metal on metal and a lifter riding on the cam. The modern motor oil, they take the zinc out of it. So they change the oil on these things and they put modern oil in it, and it can take the cam out. And that's what happened here, probably. So putting a new camshaft in the car, and that'll fix it up. It's not a factory cam we're putting back in. This car's a street car and we've driven around town. So we picked the camshaft that's designed to make the maximum torque at lower RPM. Looking forward to see how good it runs with this new camshaft in it. Lots of lubrication. There we go. So you can see when the cam turns, the lifter's going up and down, and that in turn pushes the push rod pushes the rocker down and opens the valve. So if the cam is wore out, it's not opening the valve enough to let the gases in and exhaust out. So if you don't have the proper lubrication, it's metal on metal. You'll wipe out a brand new cam within minutes. So we run into a little bit of a problem with these control arms. The bushings are seized in. It's turning into a little bit of a nightmare.
Oh, you guys are fast. That's why you get the professionals to do it.
It's gonna pop, eh?
Oh, there she blows.
Well, Stingray, we're ripping the wheels off it. So we're going to be replacing the control arm bushings. And the control arms are part of the suspension. It holds the spindle in place, and the wheel is attached to the spindle. The bushings here, the smooths here, as you go up and down the road over the bumps. The control arm bushings are important for a nice, smooth ride. If they're all dried out and loose, you're going to get a sloppy ride and a poor handling car. See, it's coming apart pretty easy. You never know. Sometimes they come apart nice, other times you're fighting with them. I'm not sweating too bad today yet. All right, so this is the lower control arm here, and these are the bushings in here I'll be replacing. They're all wore and half falling apart. All the rubber's dried out. So I could just peel it apart with my fingers. It's time for some new bushings. Well, the other ones you'll see when they come apart, they're just basically rubber, where these are a lot harder. So these will keep everything a little bit stiffer and tighter. Hug the road, like a Corvette should. So right now I've got to pound those old bushings out and get new ones in there. It shouldn't be too big of a job. So we run into a little bit of a problem with these control arms. The bushings are seized in. Well, I tried to chisel them off. I tried hammering them out. They're just not coming out. It's a big fight. We even put the heat to them to try to get some of the rubber melted. This is no good. Now I gotta find it. It's just turning into a little bit of a nightmare. I'm just fighting with the first one still. We got 3 more to go. The fun's starting to pull out of it here, boys. I don't like it when the fun stops.
Every day's not a gem. I mean, you get into some of these things that they haven't been apart in 40 or 50 years.
This isn't working.
Ron, I got some advice for you. Should have bought full control arms with bushings already in them.
Tell Ron everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna get him some new control arms. He won't have to take the bushings out.
We're a little bit of a change of plans. Well, instead of burning the place down, we decided to just replace the control arms. For the amount of hours I would have spent pounding those old bushings out and getting the new ones in there, it was much easier just to order control arms that were already completely done. There's new bushings and cross shafts already installed. Faster and cheaper in the long run.
Beauty. So with the Moline tractor tires, we called in Kyle from Barry's Tire.
How's it going, Greg?
Good.
It's a neat tractor.
Yeah, if we get tires on it, we'll be set, make Dave happy again. With the staff here, we can pretty much do anything, but certain things like tractor tires, we have to sub out. And it's great to have really, really good people to fall back on.
I've been doing tractor tires for about 12 years, and I've never personally seen anything like this. It's gonna be an honor to work on it for sure.
We do replace an awful lot of tires, but you know, the tires on this Minneapolis Moline or any large tractor are sort of beyond our abilities. It's purely a laborious process. Big, thick rubber tires on huge rims. I mean, you need guys who've done it before and know all the tricks of the trade.
This is just soapy water to lube up the bead.
These guys had a slick system. I mean, it's still the spoons, but these things here were a couple of feet long, and it was brute force, popping them off.
You know, back in the 20s and 30s, when a farmer had to change a tire, they're left to their own resources. I mean, they all had the tools to do it, which was only sensible because there was no help going to come rushing in a truck with a compressor on the back.
There we go. It's gonna pop, eh? Because the bead's gotta sit flush on the rim there. Good to go.
If we were doing it, Ron would be filling it full of explosive gas and blowing the building to shreds.
That's not working too well.
Oh, you guys are fast. Nice. It was a pleasure watching them, really. Oh, there she blows. That's why you get the professionals to do it. Better than sweating doing it myself. The oil pickup was actually jammed right against the bottom of the pan. He dodged a bullet. If he had drove it hard, he could have grenaded the motor. The 71 442, I've always been a fan of these. I mean, I just like the shape, the design.
I mean, I still have the thing in my head, this was Dad's car. You know, Greg loves these cars because, well, he's a young pup. He wasn't there at the time, so he came up thinking, oh, you know, there's an Oldsmobile with a stripe package on it, not knowing that not a serious car as far as the muscle car world was concerned.
You know, Dave and I have a difference of opinion. He didn't have the respect for him, but this one you'd respect. This car's special. It has the W30 option, which gave you the 455 motor, 350 horse it was rated at. Just a torque monster. I think it was pushing 500 foot-pounds of torque. This car's a Tribute. Some people use Tribute, some people use Clone. They had a regular 71 Cutlass, and they transferred everything over that was the W30 442 onto this car. It's got all the right badging on it, all the right finishes on it. It's got the go fast in a hurry wing. I mean, everything on this is the way it would have came in 1971. So the customer, he brought this in. It wasn't running very well. During our testing, we noticed that the oil pressure wouldn't go all the way up, and we pulled this off and found inside the pan a big mark that is actually the same shape as the oil pickup. So this was actually jammed right against the bottom of the pan. It was starving for oil. As the pump started pumping, it was right up against, couldn't keep up. If he had drove it hard, he could have grenaded the motor. He dodged a bullet. I mean, once he gets to that lost pressure, anything can happen. And then you have a boat anchor instead of a motor. So we've taken the oil pump out, we've rebuilt it, and now his oil pressure's right where it should be and should make this motor last a lot longer than it would have. I've always been a fan of the Olds. You know, growing up, my parents had a 72 Olds, and that was one of those cars that I just loved. You know, I never got a chance to drive it, but I'm gonna be road testing this one today. All right, big block. Oh, this thing really feels good. Shifting well, driving well. I got no issues out of this car. It's ready to go home. muscle cars are what it's all about for me. You know, growing up in it, loving them, hearing the sound of them. My problem is wanting to hear that sound, and direct result is hitting the gas pedal. Nice open area. Yeah, baby. Can't wait for Mike to get it back and feel how smooth it is. I don't know how he couldn't be happy with this. I just love it.
Wow. She was gray and dull, and now she's beautiful, ready to hit the road.
Now I'd just like to take her for a spin. Choke.
Oh, that's nice.
The suspension's all done on the Stingray, so the next thing we gotta do is break in the new camshaft.
You're a very powerful man.
So to do that, you have to fire the engine and you have to run it up to 2,000 RPM for a half an hour. The only lubrication the cam and lifters get is from splash, from the engine running. So we have to get that RPM up there so the splash will lubricate the cam. Because if we don't get all this proper, it can wipe out the new camshaft pretty easily. So hopefully it starts right away. If I did everything correctly, it will. Hey, that's it. So it's running. I got the idle set to about 2,000 RPM, so I have to let it sit there for 30 minutes to break in the cam.
The Stingray's running great. It's just purring like a kit and everything is back in line. The rest of this car is going to be gone over just to fix up little things on it. The rear bumper has to go back on, and the Corvette bumper has an indentation in the back of it for lettering.
Sometimes the bumper, the letters are painted on. In this case, they're aftermarket chromes. They're typically either taped in or speed nuts. I got speed nuts on here. So a speed nut has got little flared teeth that bite onto the stud and hold it nice and secure for you. To use a socket, tighten those letters in, and I just give them a tap with a hammer. Sinks it down in place. Yeah, sweet. This is an interesting bumper for the Corvette. It's a split bumper. This is the only year they did that. Split bumper is essentially just a two-piece that they fastened together in the middle to make it more convenient for them. 73 had a solid chrome bumper, and then the 75s had a solid fiberglass bumper. So you see a Corvette Stingray driving down the road, and you see that split bumper in it, you'll be able to tell right away it's a 74.
Well, one blown tire, two new tires. Geez, they look good. You know, I've had some guys come out and replace tractor tires, and when they leave, the rims are a bloody mess. All the paint scraped off them. But there's no indication that these guys ever put these tires on. Now I'd just like to take her for a spin. Okay. Choke.
Oh, come on. Oh, that's nice. There we go. What? Oh, come on. You miserable thing.
I thought, you know, just take it for, I mean, just drive around the parking lot. I'm not taking it to the farm and running up and down the fields right now, but I just wanted to drive it around a little bit.
I can hear you in there.
And it's becoming a task.
No, come on.
I like tractors because they are basically an engine surrounded with very little else.
There's not a lot of room here.
And yet some of them are incredibly elegant and beautifully designed. You know, as in with all things mechanical, I really appreciate the design of it even more than the function. I've just driven my tractor for about 1,100 feet, so I'm happy.
So Kim and her daughter are coming in to see the 74 Corvette. It has a lot of sentimental value to them, and they're going to be thrilled when they see it.
Well, we're here to see the Silver Lady. It's my late husband and my granddaughter Nova's car. This is a very, very exciting moment for us. Wow.
Holy man.
My gosh. Who's gonna open the door handle for you? How does it look back there, Lo?
Everything's all
Oh
fixed.
my goodness, look
All
at
fixed
that.
and back together.
Look at that!
I'm floored. I just cannot believe this is the car. She was in there gray and dull, and now she's beautiful. We definitely are a big car family. We know a nice car when we see one.
Like I remember.
My dad taught us all that stuff.
With underneath the hood, the cam, the timing chain, all that, starts and runs beautiful now.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is when your husband was working on it, he put some good quality parts underneath as well.
For
so
sure.
now it's good for another 45, 50 years.
Can you imagine Nova giving this to her granddaughter? I'm really excited to have this for Nova. The car is just a symbol of their love and the things that they share together.
Him and Nova used to hang out and we'd read her manuals.
She had her own electric Corvette, and it sat right beside our Corvette when Gary was working on it. Her hood was up, his hood was up.
So I think my dad would be just jumping for joy up in heaven to have us have this car and have it the way he would have imagined it being. He always wanted it to be what it was supposed to be. And I mean, he was an engineer, so he really appreciated what they do and what they're supposed to do.
I think that's the best description of this that I've ever heard, you know.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. And when people understand the internal happiness that they give you, it's
For sure.
amazing.
Sure would love this.
Yeah.
He'd be over the moon. He would have just been thanking you and thanking you and thanking you. He was just such a good guy.
I have to watch my eyes will tear up too.
Yeah, right?
Nova's children, they're not gonna get to meet my dad. But every time her and her kids sit in it, my dad will be mentioned. There's this saying that the day you truly die is the last day that somebody speaks your name. With this car, it's never gonna happen. It's a way for him to stay alive in our family.